Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We shall be doing the integrated renal mechanisms which are controlling the ECF fluid volume. So, whenever there are changes in the sodium and the fluid intake, the extracellular fluid volume, the blood volume, cardiac output, arterial pressure, and urine output are all controlled at the same time as a part of the renal body fluid feedback mechanism. As you can see from the figure on your slide, that whenever the fluid intake increases more than the output, the ECF volume increases, which leads to an increase in the blood volume, which leads to an increase in the mean circulatory filling pressure, that leads to an increase in the venous return. Eventually the cardiac output increases, all of those leading to increase in blood pressure. And whenever there is increase in the blood pressure, it leads to pressure natriuresis and it brings the ECF volume back towards normal. Thus, the renal body fluid feedback mechanism operates to prevent continuous accumulation of salt and water in the body during increased salt and water intake. As long as the kidney function is normal and the pressure diuresis mechanism is operating effectively, large changes in the salt and the water intake can easily be accommodated with slight changes in blood volume, extracellular fluid volume, cardiac output, and arterial pressure. And the opposite sequence of events occurs when the fluid intake falls below normal. The nervous and the hormonal factors increase the effectiveness of the renal body fluid control mechanisms. Role of sympathetic nervous system. Whenever there is a hemorrhage, it leads to a decrease in the blood volume. This causes decrease in the pressure in the pulmonary vessels as well as in the pressure in the low pressure areas of the thorax. All of this leads to activation of the sympathetic nervous system. Whenever the sympathetic nervous system becomes activated, it leads to constriction of the renal arterioles, which causes a decrease in the GFR and a decrease in the tubular flow rate, and less delivery of sodium to the macula densa, which stimulates angiotensin II and aldosterone. All these effects increase the tubular reabsorption of salt and water. If the decrease in the blood volume also leads to a decrease in the blood pressure, then the carotid and the aortic arch receptors are also stimulated, which further activate the sympathetic nervous system and also increase the ECF volume back towards normal. On the other hand, reflex inhibition of renal sympathetic activity leads to rapid elimination of excess fluid in the circulation, which occurs after eating a meal containing large amounts of salt and water. Role of angiotensin II in controlling renal excretion. Angiotensin II is one of the body's most powerful controllers of sodium excretion. Whenever there are changes in the sodium and fluid, there are associated reciprocal changes in the angiotensin II secretion. So whenever there is increase in the sodium intake, it leads to inhibition of angiotensin II formation, which leads to decreased sodium reabsorption and increase the excretion of sodium, leading to a decrease in the ECF volume and blood pressure back towards normal. Conversely, when the sodium intake is reduced below normal, increased levels of angiotensin cause sodium and water retention and oppose the reductions in arterial pressure that would otherwise occur. So, renin-angiotensin system acts as a powerful amplifier of pressure natriuresis mechanism, for maintenance of normal blood pressure and body fluid volume. In the figure you can see that whenever there is increase in the arterial pressure, it leads to a decrease in the angiotensin II formation, which leads to decreased formation of aldosterone. Both these effects decrease the tubular reabsorption. Also, arterial pressure leads to increase in the peritubular pressure, which also decreases the tubular reabsorption. Further, an increase in blood pressure will also lead to an increase in the glomerular pressure, which increases the GFR, and all these factors together lead to an increased sodium excretion. Role of aldosterone in controlling renal excretion. Aldosterone increases sodium reabsorption, especially in the cortical collecting tubule. The increased sodium reabsorption is associated with increased water reabsorption and potassium secretion. So the net effect of aldosterone is to make the kidneys retain sodium and water, but also to increase potassium excretion in the urine. The function of aldosterone in regulating sodium balance is closely related to angiotensin II. With a reduction in the sodium intake, there is increased angiotensin II level, which stimulates aldosterone secretion, contributes to reduction in the sodium excretion and to maintenance of sodium balance. With high sodium intake, there is suppression of aldosterone formation. This decreases the tubular reabsorption, thus allowing the kidneys to excrete larger amounts of sodium. Changes in aldosterone formation also aid the pressure natriuresis mechanism in maintaining the sodium balance during variations in salt intake. Aldosterone escape. When there is excess formation of aldosterone, as occurs in Conn's syndrome, there is increased sodium reabsorption and decreased sodium excretion by the kidneys. But this effect is only transient. After 1 to 2 days of sodium and water retention, the extracellular fluid volume rises to about 10 to 15%, and this leads to an increase in the arterial blood pressure. When the arterial blood pressure rises sufficiently, the kidneys escape from the sodium and the water retention and excrete large amounts of sodium equal to the daily intake, despite continued presence of high levels of aldosterone. The primary reason for the escape is the pressure diuresis and the natriuresis mechanism, which occurs when the arterial pressure rises. Role of ADH in controlling the renal water excretion. ADH increases the water reabsorption from the collecting tubules and the collecting ducts, but has no effect on sodium excretion. It allows the kidneys to form concentrated urine while excreting normal amounts of salt. This effect is especially important during water deprivation, when increased levels of ADH increase water reabsorption by the kidneys and help to minimize the decreases in extracellular fluid volume and arterial pressure that would otherwise occur. Excess ADH secretion causes large decrease in sodium concentration. High levels of ADH do not cause major increases in either the body fluid volume or the arterial pressure, but definitely cause severe reduction in extracellular sodium concentration. Whenever there is excess of ADH, as occurs in syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion, initially increased water reabsorption occurs, which leads to an increase in the ECF volume by 10 to 15%. This eventually leads to an increase in the blood pressure and causes pressure diuresis. This returns the ECF volume back towards normal. However, this pressure diuresis also causes loss of sodium, which leads to a decreased concentration of ECF sodium ions. So whenever there is increased ADH level, it leads to a decrease in the sodium ECF concentration because of two effects. Number one, dilution, and number two, pressure natriuresis and diuresis. In central diabetes insipidus, there is absence of ADH secretion, and this can lead to an increased loss of water and severe decrease in ECF volume and blood volume if not compensated by increase in the intake of fluids. Moving on to the role of atrial natriuretic peptide in controlling renal excretion. Whenever the blood volume increases, it causes stretch of the atrial muscles. This leads to increased release of atrial natriuretic peptide. When this peptide enters the circulation, it causes an increase in the GFR and decreases the sodium reabsorption in the distal tubules. This leads to increased sodium and water excretion and returns the ECF volume back towards normal. However, neither excess nor complete loss of atrial natriuretic peptide have any major effect on blood volume because of the associated changes in blood pressure which counteract either the excess or lack of this hormone.